How the political universe has shifted. Just a day after President Biden's exit from the presidential contest, Vice President Kamala Harris, riding a wave of Democratic Party endorsements, is taking her place as the frontrunner for the nomination. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi now among the biggest names to throw their support to Ms. Harris, whose sudden candidacy has now energized the Democratic Party, a party that in recent weeks has been gripped by panic over its future. Still tonight, as the Trump campaign pivots its message, Democrats are facing urgency to lock the vice president in as their nominee and for her to name a running mate. Several frontrunners for the number 2 slot emerging tonight in what is likely to be an expedited process. All as President Biden, who set this in motion by stepping aside, pledged to the Harris team that he will campaign for his vice president. Kelly O'Donnell is at the White House tonight with the latest developments.
A whirlwind day for Vice President Kamala Harris. Visiting headquarters in Wilmington, the president's hometown, but a campaign that now bears her name. President Biden, at home with COVID, phoned into the campaign team late today.
I'm hoping you'll give every bit of your heart and soul that you gave to me to Kamala. And I want you to know, I won't be on the ticket, but I'm still going to be fully engaged.
An extraordinary campaign reset after the president ended his own run Sunday and endorsed Harris to finish the race to November.
It is my great honor to have Joe's endorsement in this race. And it is my intention to go out and earn this nomination and to win.
But Harris is not yet the official nominee, though she appears on her way. Aides said she spent 10 hours Sunday making about 100 calls to line up support. South Carolina Democrat James Clyburn touting a reshaped race.
She is well equipped to prosecute, I'm going to emphasize, to prosecute the case against Donald Trump.
Today, the endorsement of Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, who writes, "We must unify and charge forward." Building on endorsements from the Clintons, California Governor Gavin Newsom, and the Congressional Black Caucus. Today, top House Democrat Hakeem Jeffries said he and Senate Leader Chuck Schumer expect to meet with Harris soon.
She's excited the House Democratic Caucus, and she's exciting the country.
Still, some Harris supporters described seeing reluctance around her potential nomination.
Behind closed doors, while I won't name names, that there were people that were absolutely like, it can't be the vice president.
All of it after the president's stunning announcement that for the best interest of my party and the country, he would stand down. A statement that surprised much of his own campaign staff. In Harris's first public appearance today, a pre-planned college champions event at the White House, the vice president honored his public service.
Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history.
His decision appeared to unlock praise and appreciation after a few agonizing weeks when about 40 elected Democrats pushed him to leave the race, and he resisted.
I am running, and we're going to win. I'm not going to change that. So you all in? Because I'm all in.
During a weekend of decision dealing with COVID in Delaware, sources familiar with the situation tell NBC News the president felt hurt, angry, and betrayed by allies like Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi, who he believes turned on him. One close advisor upset, saying the president was treated disrespectfully.
Kelly, let's turn back the clock here for a moment. Top Democratic donors had been demanding that President Biden drop out, but now the Harris campaign is seeing a big fundraising boost.
You're right, Lester. Those donors had threatened to hold back their money, but now the Harris campaign said today that it has raised $81 million since the president left the race and endorsed the vice president. Lester?
Kelly O'Donnell at the White House. Thank you. Among the challenges Harris faces as a presidential candidate, picking a running mate and fashioning her background before and during her vice presidency into a narrative that will appeal to voters. Here's Hallie Jackson.
Vice President Harris working the room today, trying to capitalize on this critical moment and reintroduce herself as a presidential candidate. The latest twist in a journey that's taken her from the West Coast to the White House. The daughter of Jamaican and Indian immigrants, shaped by her parents' civil rights activism, Harris reflecting on her childhood while running for president in 2019, memorably criticizing her future running mate, Joe Biden, for his record on busing.
You know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools, and she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Harris rose to become California's first Black and South Asian Attorney General in 2010 before her Senate run 6 years later, where she at times turned congressional hearings into cross-examinations.
I'm asking you a very direct question, yes or no?
Democratic allies arguing Harris's background as a prosecutor helps her press the case against former President Trump and his felony convictions. Now, Harris will likely run on the broader Biden-Harris agenda, with Republicans already seeking to exploit what they see as political liabilities on the economy, inflation, and immigration, after Harris was tapped to lead the White House response to root causes of the border crisis.
We've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
But on the issue of abortion access, which Democrats think could mobilize voters come November, Harris has been among the administration's loudest voices advocating for protections.
How dare these elected leaders believe they are in a better position to tell women what they need?
Now, the one-time running mate set to select a running mate of her own, racking up endorsements from those speculated to be on the short list, like California's Gavin Newsom and Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear.
The contrast between her and those running on the other side couldn't be clearer.
Other possible contenders, Democrats who could help in key battlegrounds, like Pennsylvania's Josh Shapiro, Arizona's Mark Kelly, and North Carolina's Roy Cooper.
I want to make sure that Kamala Harris wins.
And tonight, multiple sources tell NBC News former Attorney General Eric Holder has been tapped to lead the vetting process for the vice president's potential running mates. Lester?
All right, Hallie, thank you. Laura Jarrett joins me now. Laura, even with many Democrats backing Harris, there's not a lot of time here.
No, Lester, there's a big push right now to button things up soon. Otherwise, Democrats risk missing some key state deadlines for certifying who exactly is on the ballot. Now, Ohio has the first deadline on August 7th, but the Democratic convention doesn't start until the 19th. That's why you see all this urgency around holding a virtual roll call vote that would nominate the party's candidates. And not just the president. The vice president has to be certified as well for both to appear on the ballot in time. And that just doesn't leave Vice President Harris much time here to vet someone, Lester.
All right, Laura, thanks very much. Let's look at now this all from the angle of the Trump campaign. It's a reset for them as well. A new opponent who the campaign says they have spent weeks preparing for. Garrett Hake now with our new reporting.
After 615 days focused on Joe Biden, the Trump campaign tonight shifting gears for a likely showdown with Vice President Harris.
I guess she's going to run for president now.
Mr. Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, mocking Harris at a rally in his Ohio hometown.
I was told I was going to get to debate Kamala Harris, and now President Trump's going to get to debate her. I'm kind of pissed off about that.
Trump campaign aides tell NBC News they've worked for weeks preparing to run against Harris. The former president expanding his attacks on Harris in recent days.
She's not a competent person. She shouldn't be president. She's being laughed at all over the world.
But her potential elevation could change some of the fundamental dynamics of the race, with Trump now the oldest candidate. Running a possible Harris-led ticket could also re-energize younger and more diverse voters. A poll taken within the last 24 hours shows Harris doing better than Biden against Mr. Trump, the race within the margin of error. And previewing a new Trump line of attack against Harris, an allied group releasing this ad accusing Harris of a cover-up.
Kamala was in on it. She covered up Joe's obvious mental decline.
Our president is in good shape, in good health, tireless, vibrant.
The GOP also not letting up on President Biden, with top Republicans, including the House Speaker, demanding he step down now.
The president should resign. The reason is, if everyone acknowledges that he is incapable of running a campaign, then he's clearly incapable of running the country. I mean, he has the nuclear codes.
And Vance arguing today that any Democratic voter turned off by what he called a coup against President Biden should vote for the Republican ticket instead. It's an argument the Trump campaign hopes will gain traction here in Virginia, a state that hasn't voted for a Republican for president since 2004. Lester?
All right, Garrett Hake, thank you. It's all sending shockwaves through the critical battleground states. Zincle Esimwa is in Pennsylvania, where she is asking voters, will it change how they cast their ballots?
Swift reaction tonight in Pennsylvania after a major shift in the race to the White House.
I was surprised because he said that he was staying in, and I was supporting him.
The battleground state is critical, with 19 electoral votes up for grabs and polling already close. We spoke to 3 Democratic voters and 1 undecided.
What went through your mind when you heard the president was not going to run?
I almost felt relief because there's been so much back and forth.
Just speaking to a lot of other Gen Z voters and a lot of other young people, I think for a long time we've been feeling a bit disenfranchised.
Earlier this month, NBC News polling showing 83% of Democrats under the age of 34 wanted a different nominee, like first-time voter Nick Urkel, who is undecided, now weighing new options.
Even in her 4 years as vice president, didn't hear much from her except the occasional immigration thing.
Voters today raising concerns about key issues like abortion, the economy, and civil rights.
As a black woman, mother, wife, I worry about my children.
You said you're a mother. Your daughter's right next to you. Do you worry about those things?
Definitely.
If you had to vote today, who would you vote for?
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, without a doubt.
Kamala Harris.
RFK Jr.
Nick says he wants to learn more about Harris, but has reservations.
It's going to be really hard to pull off a campaign in this short a time. In the next month, she still has to convince everyone in the party to unite behind her.
Zincle Asamoah, NBC News, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.